Hi there. Today is Sunday, January 29th, and this is our Creative Week. I'm Jennifer with scrapsoflife.com, and I'm back home. I'm back in Georgia, and so I got back home. I flew into Tallahassee and landed about 11:30. Got home just before 1 a.m. and finally fell asleep that night slash early morning, sometime after 4, and I had to be at work at 10:30. So your girl's a little jet lagged, but I have some things to show you from the last bit of my trip and then the travel day. So starting with the sketchbook again. I combined, and I can't remember if I showed this one on the previous update or not, but this is a combination of 2 days prompts, song, and fairy tale. And this is why I can't remember if I pointed out that I was like, oh, it kind of worked out that those two went together pretty well. But yeah, so that's what that one is. I can't remember if I did that before or after shooting the last video. And then the next prompt was faces. So I drew, different orientations of like faces, the directions they were looking, and tried for some different expressions. And then because I always kind of like wonder what to do when it comes to the hair, I flipped through my TikTok feed just for the hair. So like the faces aren't representative of the people on TikTok. They were just like I did the faces and then I added I added random hairstyles to them. It was fun little practice, so I appreciated that. Let's see. The next one was skyline was the prompt, and so I did an image search and just reference photos. And this is Camelback Mountain up here on this top half of the page, and then this is the downtown Phoenix skyline with some more mountains in the back. Don't know which ones those are. But yeah, I just figured, well, I'm traveling, so we'll do that. And that's the last update in my sketchbook because the last couple of days of my trip, I just wanted to be immersed and spend that time with my partner. And so yeah, I got off track. Speaking of sketching, though, I did not have this with me to show you last week, so I'll show it this time. This is the sketch for the Pennsylvania page. I know it's hard to see. There's a reason for that because it's a very light sketch so that it won't, overpower the watercolors that are going to go on top. So there's that. What else did I do? Well, I read like a book and a half. And you're like, well, that's not very creative. You're reading somebody else's stuff. No. Here's the thing, folks. Engaging with created objects, engaging with products of creativity absolutely counts as being creative because it's a way of refilling your own well. And so when I read a good book or when I hope to be good, then I'm engaging my imagination. When I'm taking in this story and kind of picturing it in my mind, guess what? That's being creative. Are you producing anything? No, but you're, except for enjoyment in yourself, hopefully. But I had finished a book for an upcoming book club, and then I'm buddy reading with that same partner that I was visiting another series, and the latest book just came out. It's the Steamborn books by Eric Asher, and I think they would fall under like YA dystopian future action adventure fantasy kind of, under that umbrella is really fun. It's a really fun set of books. We're on book 7 now. So it's like almost 3 trilogies. There will be 9 from what we can tell. Yeah. So, and I'm about halfway, a little more than halfway now, but we try and kind of keep pace with each other so we can talk about it without spoiling too much. And then the other thing I did was I worked on the Monsoon Shawl. And this got the benefit of not just time while I was, hanging out with my partner. So on the sofa or watch movies or something, sometimes I would pick this up and work on it. But it got like concentrated effort on the plane and in the airports and stuff. So yeah, this has grown quite a bit. And I want to ask, can you see where I messed up? It'll be along this top ridge. Can you see where I messed up? Probably can't, but if you do, it's right here. There's a little bit of a bobble here. In fact, you can really see it on the back. And it's because when I picked this back up, I did not check what the instructions were for the return pass in Tunisian crochet. And I kept losing a stitch or two um, on this end of the work. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, I'm counting, all of my, the little lace bits are all falling in the right spot. How am I like running out of stitches at the end of the row each time? Well, yeah, I forgot to chain one before I started the return pass stitches, or as part of the beginning of the return pass. And so yeah, I was eating up a stitch every time I did that. And so the entire second section that I did of the repeat was flubbed, although I made it work. I would add stitches back in and we made it work. Um but yeah, once I remembered that, now I'm back on track. I finished the third repeat, or I'm the third anyway. Anyway, it's coming along, and it's probably about, I mean, blocked. If I were to stop and block it right here, I would have a cute little kerchief. But no, we're not going for that. I've got quite a bit more of this first color left, and then I have two more skeins of yarn that will be ultimately in this one, and it's going to look kind of like a pink to green gradient. At least that's the hope. That's the hope. Anyway, so I got a lot of work done on this, and it was very enjoyable to work on the plane, and I felt really good about it. And then since getting home, oh, jet lag and post trip just exhaustion have kicked in. So yeah, I can't say with any sort of a straight face that I have been wildly productive since getting home. I napped yesterday after work. I was going to get caught back up on the prompts for the January art challenge, and I will. Just last night was not the time to do it. I just kind of like, it was one of those moments where I just kind of stared at a blank page, and I'm like, this isn't good. This isn't helping. So I put myself to bed early, even though I'd had a nap, and I read for a little bit. And yeah, so today we're trying to slowly get back on track. And yeah, that's how my week's been. Oh, I need to also tell you guys that I'm so excited because Todd made some serious headway on the downstairs bathroom while I was gone. He had the drywall, the damaged drywall replaced before I left, but he still had all like the mud, tape, sand, all that stuff, and then all the painting to do. Well, he got the painting done, and of course I threw right before I went out of town, I happened to get it in my head that I didn't want to just white walls. I wanted it a color, so we had to go we had to figure out which shade of blue, this like periwinkle blue, would be correct for in there, and I think we did a really good job of picking that. And he did a great job of getting everything painted. He was working on the trim yesterday, and so once the trim is installed, then the last thing to do is to finish refinishing the clawfoot tub that goes in there and install the plumbing on that side of the room. So yeah, in a few weeks, I could imagine having a finally completed room of the renovation after we've been here for 8.5 years. So much for thinking, oh, this is a 10-year project house. No, it's going to be like 20 or 30 at this rate. But hey, it's okay. This is what we did. This is what we chose it for. So that's my creative week. How has yours been? Did you make time for yourself? Did you find ways to recognize the creativity in your day? um Oh, and the whole point that I wanted to make with the pointing out where I'd made a mistake on the shawl is could I have ripped back and redone that section so that it was correct? Of course I could have, but did I? Clearly not, because we reject perfection. Perfection is unattainable, so we accept when little bobbles happen, and whenever possible, we just keep moving forward because there's way too many things out there to do. At work, we talk about how there's so many projects we want to do that to go back and have to redo a project over and over would just be maddening, you know? If you're not being graded on it, and most of the time you're not, then just roll with it and keep going and learn from the mistake that way, rather than having to go back and force yourself to fix it if it's not going to create a true problem. You know, a sleeve that's too small, well, that's not workable. But, you know, having to fix some missing stitches and get back on track, that's absolutely fixable when it's on the edge of a shawl that's going to be much bigger. So, for the week ahead, as we wrap up January already, folks, we wrap up January and start February, and we find out whether or not we've got more winter ahead or if spring will come early. Then I wish you well, and I wish you a little bit of creativity in the week to come. I'd love to know what you've been up to. Feel free to leave it down in the comments below, or tag me on Instagram with hashtag Our Creative Week. Bye.